accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order number 7B, which permits municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Some public meetings are being held in a hybrid version. This meeting was intended to be in person, but we did not have a hybrid capability at Westmore Park, so we are conducting it all virtually today. Commission members and some town staff are participating by WebEx. Members of the public can access this meeting by calling 1-408-418-9388 and use the access code 132-530-4891. Again, that's 408-418-9388 with access code 132-530-4891. And I don't see anybody from the public calling yet, but we will need to just remind them of that. First, because of the virtual format, there's a couple of special rules. Please mute your phones, your devices when you're not speaking. Sometimes that can cause an echo. And if you do wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and Shauna or I will call on you. And if you're participating via audio only, and I don't know who you are, then please unmute your phone and let us know so that we can recognize you. Also, because this is being broadcast live on WHC Interactive, it's also available on YouTube by it's on Comcast channel 96, Frontier TV channel 6099, and YouTube at the whctv.org if you search for that. There are one caller is area code 6177 something, and it ends in 31. I just need you to identify yourself so that we can know who is attending.
Oh, hi, this is Kate Eichel, 617 number. I'm going to be joining by video in a little bit. Sorry, I got cut
Very good, Kate. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yep.
I'm going to see if I can just say who she is. No, more options. No, I can't. Okay. Shauna, I just wanted to, on your behalf, I will call the roll. Greg Schimmer is absent. Tanya Lowe. Am I looking at an old one? No. And Kate Eichel is on by phone, and she'll try and get in. I see Anna Park. Hi, Anna. Gus Melita.
I am here. I apologize. I can't be on video right now.
No problem. Robin Collins and Shauna Kitzman and Steve Cutter. Very good. So we did receive a message from Steve Garneau that he could not attend this evening. He had a conflict. So Shauna, we will. I'll turn it over to you to proceed with our adoption of our minutes and our staff business tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much, Helen. So we're going to move to adopt the March 15th meeting minutes. Can I have someone motion to adopt them?
I move we adopt the minutes from the previous meeting.
Thank you.
I second it. Robin Collins.
Fantastic. Thank you. Moving on to old business.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Shauna. This is Helen Rubino Turco. I just wanted to make sure that Anna and Kate and Gus weighed in on whether they approved the minutes or not.
Oh, okay. Backing up.
This is Kate Eichel. I approve.
I do as well.
I do as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Helen. Okay, so we can move on to the old business. The first item is staff report. And we're talking about Celebrate West Hartford virtual events, including the road race, arts and crafts show, etc.
Right. So this is Helen Rubino Turco again. And I did send everyone some information about the road race to everybody. There's not a lot of people that have signed up for it yet, so we are anxious to spread the word because I think the deadline is coming up to guarantee you can get a shirt. And so feel free to post that or share that or encourage your circle of friends to consider supporting the virtual 5K road race, which is also a fundraiser for the Town That Cares and the Leisure Services Scholarship Fund. Plans are
Can you just remind us what day that is?
Sure. I'm just going to pull it up. It is not on a specific day. You can do it anytime you want during the weekend of Celebrate West Hartford when it would have been, which is it would have been the first weekend in June or the second weekend in June. It varies from year to year. But in reviewing, if you register by May 24th, you will be guaranteed to receive a shirt. And registrants can sign up at celebratewesthartford.com. They can also go to, I think it's celebratewesthartford.com. Certainly through the Leisure Services website, and you can click on Celebrate West Hartford. Might be celebratewesthartford.org. I'm going to check that while we're talking. And the virtual 5K, you can take it, you can run anytime. The distance challenge takes place during the month of June. And that's sort of a kind of an added challenge where you can run during the whole month. You can keep track of your distance. The virtual 5K is scheduled between June 4th and June 13th.
Okay, great. Okay.
And I think to reach it, you have to go to the website. The website is through Leisure Services. I can't find the link, the quick link. Sorry about that.
Okay. And then the next order of business, Leisure Services Summer Programming Update.
Thank you. So as we reported in March, the Leisure Services Program Guide was mailed out to all the households in West Hartford, and registration has been brisk. We are planning to resume our programs sort of as normal, not as if there was no COVID, but in a way where we learned from our experience last year where we canceled camps, but then we did run camps in 2 locations with restrictions. So we know how to pivot quickly in case something changes. But if it doesn't change, we are planning to run our camps as usual, and interest has been very high. Some camps have already maxed out, and we've added extra sections. So we're very pleased with the response and the desire of the community to get back at it. We did lose some of our, people that used to run programs for us 2 summers ago. They made plans over the course of 2 years, which is, of course, inevitable. But we do have different and new ones added in. So I think we're very pleased with our lineup. We do plan to have the outdoor pools run by Cornerstone Aquatic Center. So they are hiring lifeguards, and they're going to be doing the hiring. The employees will still be working for the town of West Hartford, but they will be managing our outdoor pools. They're going to open up one pool a little bit early, and they're going to keep another pool open for an extra week at the end of the season. And they can be flexible. So that's very good. It's a real bonus for us. The other part about our Leisure Services summer programming is that we are awaiting some information from the town manager and our town council about the Recovery Act funds. And it's possible that we might get some Recovery Act funds that we might be able to use to assist some programs that we can't run otherwise. For example, the Summer Arts Festival, we can't have it indoors. And so they've requested a change in their budget, as well as the possibility of having it be outdoors at the Showmobile. And the library, for example, has some programs that they'd also like to do outdoors at the Showmobile. So we're looking at seeing if we can get some of this funding we've requested for some of these programs due to COVID-19, changes due to COVID-19. So we will keep you updated. Probably in June, we'll know more, but I'm hoping we'll know more. The budget is scheduled to be adopted by the town council on May 25th. So as you know, the budget season was extended, and that has put everything kind of, we're just not sure about some of the programs that we'll be able to do. But our camps and our pools and our leisure services programs and senior center programs are all moving forward as usual.
Helen, this is Shauna Kitzman. Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is the town having any staffing issues? I know that there have been other, staffing issues and employment issues, but are you able to find camp counselors and that sort of thing?
As far as I know, we are doing fine in our securing camp counselors and lifeguards and pool cashiers. I know lifeguards are always a little bit hard to find. So I think one of the advantages of partnering with Cornerstone Aquatic Center is that they already have a whole bunch of lifeguards on their staff. So they can have access and can tap into that already, that known quantity of people. So I don't anticipate that we'll have an issue.
But the other question is, will the town swim team operate at Cornerstone again?
Yes, the town summer league is going to be housed at Cornerstone Aquatic Center, and they actually have a league now, which is with other towns. So they compete against a couple of other recreational leagues that teams that are in a little league. So that has been a nice addition.
Great. Are there any other leisure service updates or questions or comments?
Not in the area, this is Helen Rubino Turco, not in the area of our summer programming at this point. We are still, as I said, waiting on some news about whether some funding will be available for us to do some expanded free programs that we would like to do. But in the meantime, we are holding with the programs that we have in place that we've scheduled. Thank you.
Okay. Shall we move on to new business?
Certainly. Thank you, Shauna. Helen Rubino Turco, and I'm joined by Carol Waxman from our West Hartford Public Library. Carol is the interim director of the library, of our public library, and we're here to discuss briefly the town's plans to purchase the former St. Brigid School campus. As you know, the school closed last year, and the building has been for sale. And the town intends to purchase this with the town council's approval, probably before the end of the summer. And currently, we are in the due diligence phase. That is to say, we're taking a look at the condition of the building and possible contaminations. We're also doing a title search and checking the boundary, doing a site survey, and those kinds of things. Typical things that you would do if you were buying a new home. You check all of those things. So we're in the due diligence phase, and we do expect that we will move forward. And why do we want to buy this property? Well, it's adjacent to a large park, and it offers a lot more opportunity for expanded programming because of its location and it being contiguous to a public park. The Elmwood Community Center property is actually quite an interesting property. It's a bit complicated. but it is in a special development district. It is near the busway, so it's in a special development area, and is therefore quite attractive, perhaps, to a future business that may want to renovate that space for mixed housing, or when I say mixed, maybe some businesses on the first floor and apartments on the higher levels. And it's also quite close to, you can actually, if the trees are not leafed out, you can see New Britain Avenue from the back of Elmwood Community Center property. So it is close to the busway there. So it's quite flexible. Whereas St. Brigid's property is it's really either going to be community use or houses, housing development. So from that standpoint, we would use Elmwood Community Center until we were able to develop the St. Brigid's property as a community center, and then shift all of our operations over there, and then we would consider selling the old Elmwood Community Center campus, which was as Robin Collins knows very well, it's an old elementary school from the 1920s. It's this exact same vintage as Charter Oak Elementary. So you get an idea of just how inflexible it is when you walk up to it and you're immediately faced with stairs. It does have an elevator, it does have a generator, but the seniors are on the second floor, and it's a challenging space for the current use. And the reason why we have Carol is because we're also looking at the possibility of including the library in this new building. And so, of course, the Faxon Library is much loved by the community, but it is also, as Carol will tell you, has some challenges. So Carol Waxman, do you mind bringing us up to date on this potential from your standpoint?
Can't hear you.
Sorry, Carol, you have to unmute.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity for me to speak with you tonight. I'm Carol Waxman. I'm the Children and Teen Services Manager of the West Hartford Public Library and also the acting director right now. The West Hartford Town Council has voted to authorize Town Manager Matt Hart to purchase the former St. Brigid School campus at 100 Mayflower Street in Elmwood for $3 million to transform the property into the new community and cultural center. Due to demographic shifts resulting in low enrollment over the last several years that have created financial shortfalls, the parish is unable to continue its financial support of the school, resulting in its closure. The campus that is proposed includes a school and one other building built in 1960 that sit on 8.5 acres and are strategically located adjacent to Beachland Park. The new Community and Cultural Center will accommodate the Elmwood Senior Center, the Elmwood Community Center, the Daycare Center, the Faxon Branch Library, and possibly a gym and meeting rooms. The estimated investment in the project is $6 million. The property was most recently appraised at just over $7 million. The St. Brigid location offers the possibility of a new Elmwood campus, combining a number of uses and allowing us to repurpose the existing Elmwood Community Center for redevelopment and grand list growth. Most of our Elmwood-based assets would be in one location. The present Elmwood Community Center and the Faxon Branch Library are very old buildings in need of much updating in terms of HVAC systems, interior design, functionality, parking, and access to buildings from the street. I can tell you that the Faxon Branch Library has been patched and fixed, and trenches have been dug to stop flooding, and HVAC systems fixed, and things are happening all the time. They're fixed and then they fail again. There are just so many times that you can fix a very old building. So as Helen has stated, due diligence, which includes a comprehensive analysis of the existing structure, in particular zoning, environmental and physical inspections, as well as a property survey and title search, is being done to the St. Brigid buildings to determine if they will be remodeled or raised. The buildings are 61 years old and have been vacant for a few years. The property is valuable in terms of its location, adjacent to the most wonderful park, which leads to endless opportunities for recreation. The entire community will be invited to express their ideas for the design of the building, as well as to what they would like to see happen in the building. A new community center would offer so many opportunities for the residents of the Elmwood neighborhood and the entire town. The center would offer programs for babies, elementary age children, teens, families, and seniors. There are many exciting things that we could do with this property to serve residents of all ages for decades to come. It would be a place where everyone would meet to engage in conversation and programming, education and socialization. And as we all know, patrons who visit the present Faxon Branch Library would definitely visit the new one and be so excited to plan its future. I'd be happy to answer questions that you have.
Sure. This is Helen Rubino Turco again. Thank you, Carol Waxman from the library, for that detailed report. It'll also, the intention also is to include a teen center at the new senior center, the new community center. Right now, the community center, the existing Elmwood Community Center, has a teen center that is about the size of a closet. So that, of course, is also of great interest for our community. Are there any questions? Oh, the next stage, once we purchase this building, will be, of course, community outreach. And we will, the Elmwood Community Center is sort of the heart and soul of our recreation programming. So, of course, this body, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, will be very involved. We will invite your participation at many levels in the coming months. Once we've purchased the building, we will conduct some community outreach about what the community would like to see, what the budgets will allow, and we will really lean on you, as we have in the past when we did some park planning. We will also turn to you and invite your participation in the planning of the new Elmwood Community Center. So more to come on that, but we wanted to just bring you up to date on where we stand right now, the timeline.
If I might add something, this is Carol Waxman. If I might add something to what Helen just said, we are also very sensitive to the fact that we are moving these buildings farther on down the road, which could possibly be difficult for patrons who are walking to the Faxon Branch Library or walking to Elmwood Community Center to traverse just a little farther. And we know New Britain Avenue is a very busy street with intersections that require giving them a lot of attention before you cross the street. So there is definitely discussion about possible town transportation from the area near these buildings to the new community center. We are open to all of your ideas and lots of discussion about that. Anything that you are concerned about will be brought up, discussed, and whatever solutions we can make, we definitely will.
Will there be an actual committee of citizens, as we've been doing with sustainability now, and the police department has a group and there's a youth council? Will there be that sort of thing, Helen or Carol? Do you know?
Yes, thank you, Robin Collins, for that question. This is Helen Rubino Turco. The town manager will be discussing with the town council, establishing a building committee.
I think that's a wise idea. Thank you.
And again, we will keep you posted on as this progresses. We expect to learn more. I believe the town council will vote at the end of June about the purchase, and then we expect that if they move forward with it, that it would take effect in August sometime. That's what we're hoping. Thank you.
Can I, hi,
Just
this is Shauna Kitzman. I just, first of all, thank you, Carol. I think this is a very exciting process, and I'm excited to see it unfold. You did raise a really good point, and I would love to see traffic calming and pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, especially considering what an important corridor New Britain Ave is. And I know it's a really important business element of our community. And I would just want to make sure that our non-motorized residents and visitors still can get to the new community center safely.
Thank you, Shauna. This is Carol Waxman. And yes, it is a top priority. We don't want anybody not coming because they're afraid to walk or don't know how to get there. All of the above. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Steve Kutcher. Does the decision to buy the St. Brigid's property hinge on the decision to sell the current Elmwood Community Center, or is that still not determined?
This is Helen Rubino Turco. Shauna, through you, I will answer this question from Steve Kutcher. The purchase is not, as far as I know, the purchase of the campus, the St. Brigid's campus, is not contingent on selling the Elmwood Community Center property, although I believe that it is one of the ways that the town could offset the investment, would be to sell off the property that we will no longer be using. I suspect that we'll learn more about this as the town council debates and confirms their purchase.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, we can move on to the capital improvement plan.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Carol Waxman for attending. She's going to sign off. Thank you. This is Helen Rubino Turco. I just wanted to bring, again, this committee up to date on some of the capital improvement plan projects that we've got coming. We're always looking at ways to improve accessibility in our parks and our public facilities. We've recently completed a new restroom building at Eisenhower Park. So this is, it is probably finished passing their inspections this week in time for Memorial Day, in anticipation of Memorial Day when that building would open to the public. This is a standalone ADA compliant restroom with 2 unisex single-use restrooms, as well as a little bit of storage for public works. So this is the kind of improvement that we have been steadily chipping away at in our parks and facilities. So that's one project that we've accomplished this year. We're also looking to make some ADA improvements at 2 other facilities. And we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to kind of remind you that of this focus of the Leisure Services Department. One is in Wolcott Park, and the second is in Canopy Park. So at Wolcott Park, there is a restroom that services the splash pad and the park users. It's right near the splash pad. We intend to reconfigure the eastern half of Wolcott Park and include a new restroom building that would have, I think, 4 unisex, single-use, I think they call them now gender neutral restrooms for that park. The building there is pretty old. The splash pad is actually probably needs to get replaced, but the playground is in really good shape and we can probably reuse it. We also want to look at revamping the layout of the parking lot, and there's a circular driveway on the south side of the restroom building that pretty much no one ever uses, but the the way that the way that it has settled is the water goes there and it becomes this big mud puddle. So obviously that whole section needs to be looked at, as well as perhaps engaging with the pond and doing some pond restoration at the same time. So again, our focus there will be on ADA improvements to that restroom. And when we get to Canopy Park, as you know, we're planning to launch some park planning at Kennedy that will include renovating the existing pool house, which right now has a very large men's side and a very large women's side. But the trend now that we know is that people are also looking for family changing rooms. So they're looking for a place where you can go, a mom can go with her adult son and help him get ready to go into the pool if he needs assistance. Whereas, or a dad can take his children of whatever, whether they're boys or girls, and go into a family changing room and help them get changed. So we plan to renovate that building and reconfigure the inside, as well as having the ADA compliant and having restrooms that are accessible from the outside, that if you're not in the pool but you're in the park and you need to use a bathroom, it's actually in the pool house. That's the way it is at Beachland, that's the way it is at Fern, and that's the way it will be. It's currently that way at Kennedy, but the restrooms are older and they don't meet the current guidelines that we want to see. We're also redoing the, if you're familiar with Westmore Park, and I wish we could have been at Westmore Park today, but the new outdoor classroom is accessible and it has a handicapped accessible water fountain and parking nearby. But the building itself, the Hunter House, has a ramp and has some front stairs, but the front stairs are falling apart. And when we want to replace the front stairs, we also have to bring the ramp up to code because it no longer meets the current code for an ADA ramp. And so we're going to be, we're right now designing that, and then we'll put it out to bid, and that will be funded by our community development block grant funds, as well as the Westmore Park Fund. The Westmore Park Fund will fund the front stairs, and the CDBG funds will help will pay for the ramp. So again, that's just another example of working on ADA access in our parks. We also just finished dredging the pond, doing the pond restoration at Spice Bush. And we hope to do, with some modest fanfare, we hope to open up that park. It's open now, but do some, kind of some announcements at the beginning of June in time for Trail Days, for Connecticut Trail Days, which is the first weekend in June. But one of the things that we had there before was a pier, a dock that went out into the water. And what we'd like to do is make that dock, to replace it. Obviously, it came out when we were doing the pond restoration, but we want to build one that's handicapped accessible. That might mean that we need to replace the little bridge. It might mean that we need to put in a crushed pathway to get to that new little bridge. But these are all things that I'd like to chip away at, whether we're using CDBG monies or whether we do it in-house and we just buy the materials. But again, this is something that that we feel very committed to doing and want to continue to do, and that is to make things like that accessible to all members of our community, including able-bodied and people who need help. So more to come on that, but these are just examples of the kind of work that we're doing. Do you have any questions about our ADA improvements?
Hi, this is Kate Eichel. I think these sound great, Helen. I had a question sort of about Beachland and the new acquisition of St. Brigid's, and just is there any thought with this purchase of like how those properties connect, and also like Beachland's parking and access that way? And I'm sure there has, but I just was curious about that too. Or Beachland's like slated for renovations later on?
Thank you, Kate, for that question, Kate Eichel. So this is Helen Rubino Turco, Director. All of those kinds of conversations will certainly be had after we've purchased the property and we're discussing what's the best way of using the property. Right now, the two properties are connected with a pathway. So St. Brigid's School used to use, or in the past, from time to time, we had an agreement with them where we could use their gymnasium as a shelter, a rain shelter during the summer when they weren't in session, for our summer camp. And they could use our playground in the fall and during the school year, because they didn't have a playground. So we have a connector that exists now between the park and St. Brigid's School, the former St. Brigid's School. Anything is possible. I know that leaving Beachland Park is a challenge to try and get out, because traffic comes around the corner off of Trout Brook and makes a right onto South Quaker Lane. There's also a slight hill to the right as you're trying to leave, and so people come from the Elmwood direction going north, and it's hard to get out sometimes. It's especially hard for camp counselors who are young drivers, and it's also hard for families with children in the car. So that's something that certainly will be part of the conversation, but it's too soon for me to say, oh, we're going to close off that entrance, or we're going to make that an entrance only and an exit from the other side. We really don't know what is possible or what will be best. And that's where we will really rely on our community to certainly voice their opinions and their suggestions as we go through the design process. I think it will be great to look at both parcels as a whole as opposed to two separate parcels, and that is very exciting.
Great, thank you. Does that cover the capital improvement projects, Helen?
Well, there are a couple of other projects that are under other. We do have a project that is going to the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for sandlot volleyball at Eisenhower Park. We had a location picked out, but some neighbors did object to the location, and so we had tried to pick a spot that wouldn't require a lot of heavy lifting in terms of zoning, but we intend to suggest a location that is in an upland review area of wetlands, but it's not really used. It's to the south. It's to the east of the current southern parking lot, to the south of the soccer field. So it's a little bit further away from the homes across the street, and it's, the only neighbor that you can see really is Hall High School. So that's I think a better location. So again, that is going before, that will be accepted at the Town Plan and Zoning in early June and heard in July. So that project is coming up. And then we have a whole list of projects that are in the queue for next year that hopefully I can, once we figure out what our priority, our timeline, what's first, what's next, we can certainly share that probably at our next meeting.
Great. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns about any of the capital improvement plans or processes? Okay, well, we're counting down 11 minutes to the end of our meeting, so we can roll on over to the tree canopy study.
Thank you. This is Helen Rubino Turco again. We recently had a really interesting community service project that was conducted in town, and it was by two school teachers, actually, Ted Gerner teaches science at Sedgwick Middle School, and his wife Carolyn Gerner teaches science at Hall High School. And they arranged for a donation of 1,000 seedlings. This was partly augmented with it was purchased, as well as some seedlings were donated by Eversource, and they were able to distribute these seedlings to families who own private property, like school families, as well as student families, as well as the general public. And they did have a couple of hundred left over that we were able to arrange for them to volunteer to plant in various selected spots in a couple of our parks. And for example, at Spicebush Swamp Park, we identified an area that was sort of like a little bit of an open space, and they were able to go in. We weed whacked back and identified the spot, and they went in and dug up and planted the seedlings. And they plan to go back and do a little bit of weed whacking and maybe bring in some mulch to help protect these little seedlings. But this was an opportunity for us to talk to other people besides us that love trees. And Ted Gerner is assisting with setting up a meeting with some people who have been working in town, who are working with something called the Notable Trees. So I don't know if you're aware, but there is a Notable Trees website, and West Hartford does have quite a number of notable trees, not just the 300-year-old oak tree that is on the former UConn campus up on the north side of town, but there is also a beautiful elm tree, a disease-resistant elm tree that is located on Farmington Avenue at, it's not Pleasant, it's the one, Arlington. It's on the corner there. So again, just some interest in trees, but it also begs us, and I'm glad that Steve Kutcher is here from the soon-to-be finalized West Hartford Parks Foundation. The idea of doing a tree canopy would help us identify where we are lacking trees and be able to address and put resources directly to those neighborhoods. And it sort of goes hand in hand with the 10-minute walk campaign that we've been talking about for a couple of years now, where everyone deserves to live a 10-minute walk from a public park or playground. And so by doing a tree canopy and overlaying that with our 10-minute walk catchment, we'll be able to really see about how we can focus our attention on increasing the town's tree canopy, and therefore doing our part to make our community more sustainable. And so as we seek funding for that, it's possible that the West Hartford Parks Foundation might be a vehicle for that. The town sometimes can't apply for funds because we're not a nonprofit, but now we have a nonprofit partner that those funds could be donated to. So we're going to be exploring that as one of our first projects with the West Hartford Parks Foundation. Isn't that great?
Yes. I love trees. I'm so happy you mentioned that tree at Arlington and Farmington. I didn't know it was famous, but it is one of my favorites in town.
It is a disease-resistant American elm, and those are few and far between. There are others in town that exist. A couple of years ago, we also received a donation through the West Hartford Garden Club of some elm species that came from New Hampshire, and they've also been planted around town. A lot of them in Elmwood for the obvious reason, but they are also disease-resistant elms, and we're trying to repopulate our community with those that wonderful specimen tree.
Great, thank you, Helen. Okay, so our last order of business is public comment. Are we able to receive public comment from?
We can, and Shauna, I'm here to tell you that I do not see any callers from the public who have called in requesting to speak.
Okay.
Can I ask a question at this time, or this is
Yes,
Robin
sure.
Collins speaking? I have a question unrelated to the tree canopy project, but I just had a question as I've noticed that the Department of Leisure Services is working with West Hartford Yoga. And I know last summer you did some, you allowed them in some manner to use some of our parks for programs. And my question, Helen, involves whether or not, do we charge them, or is it just a happy neighbor, help each other kind of feel good opportunity to work with a nonprofit like West Hartford Yoga to create a space outdoors safely for our citizens to take some yoga? I was just wondering around the financial part of it.
Sure. This is Helen Rubino Turco, Director. Yes, this is yoga in the parks. We will announce in early June on our website and on Facebook, but they will be free. Donations are suggested, but you do need to register via West Hartford Yoga. But they will be on 3 different days and for different audiences. There will be free yoga in our parks starting June 20th and running through, I believe, August 18th. Wednesdays at 5:30 at Eisenhower will be for adults, all levels. Sundays at 9 a.m. in Beachland Park, again, is for adults in all levels. And Thursdays at 10 a.m. at Wolcott will be family and kids yoga. So those are free sessions that we are partnering with West Hartford Yoga in our public parks, and you'll see more publicity about this in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Robin.
I just had one more question for Helen, if I may. This is Robin Collins. I was fortunate enough to have to help out one day recently at the pickleball courts at Wolcott Park, and I was fascinated with the sport because I really have never played, but also what a beautiful place, and there were so many people there engaging on a Tuesday morning. Part of it was the senior center, which I was involved with, but just in general, I've been down there just to visit other people playing, and it's just fabulous. So it was a wonderful opportunity to create something a little bit different and use our outdoor space. And it's just wonderful for particularly for older citizens, I think, are utilizing, or at least it looked that way when I was there.
Thank you, Robin Collins. Yes, this is Helen Rubino Turco. It is a popular sport, and we are planning to do some additional renovations to some of our facilities to see if we can increase our pickleball courts. There is a program through the West Hartford Senior Centers that you can sign up for where they've dedicated some space just for seniors that they can use. And I know we're very short on time. We're closing up here in the final minutes, so I'll turn it back to Shauna Kitzman. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. This is Shauna Kitzman. Our next meeting will be on June 14th. That's a Monday at 5:30 p.m. The location is TBD. Helen, do you know when we might start to be able to meet in person or outside again? Is that a thing again?
I don't know when we will transition to having all in person. I believe that we may be doing hybrid until the middle of July. So we will have to see whether we can find a location that also has some hybrid capability. Otherwise, we'll do it virtual. Thank you.
Okay. So can we conclude our meeting now? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and we'll see you in about a month. And share the word about the fund runs and activities associated with Celebrate West Hartford, please.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.